How we doing, guys? And a very happy Saturday night to everyone. It is the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. We are live watching the NBA playoffs. Currently, Sacramento Kings and Golden State entering the fourth quarter in quite the battle. With me, my good friends, Mr. Corey Rain and Mr. Mike Zappi. How we doing, boys?
Doing good, man.
I'm drained. It's been a good day of sports. But the way this third quarter just ended right now in this Warriors-Kings game, it worried me a little bit, but doing well other than that.
Yeah, similar to what went down with the Knicks. Knicks had a double-digit lead that evaporated. And how about Josh Hart on a bum ankle just making a beautiful shot and really swaying the momentum permanently in the Knicks' direction? Knicks got to play better. Knicks are going to have to play better. We'll start with them. New York Knicks win despite poor shooting and turnovers. They win the battle on the glass, second champ points, negating Donovan Mitchell's 38-point night. Gentlemen, your thoughts on the Knicks' victory tonight?
I thought they hung on. They definitely could improve. They have to shoot better. It can't just be one or two guys with the bulk of the scoring, obviously. Randall didn't have a great game. But Jalen Brunson, really good, man.
I can't say enough about Jalen Brunson. When I think about, Dallas gave up on him, tried the Kyrie experiment. They didn't even qualify for the playoffs. In an NBA now where you can get in on a play-in situation where they invite more teams to the dance, cannot say enough. I said this to you off air, Corey. 2 years ago, I thought the world of Julius Randle. 2 years later, I'm thinking about next year, and I'm like, okay, guys, are we going to move on from Julius Randle and completely solidify this roster to make it a championship caliber team? That's where my mindset is.
I told you the guy I think they need. He plays in Portland.
Yes, Dame Lillard as an addition to this Knicks team would be truly incredible. Weird game, man, because when you shoot the ball and have the turnovers the Knicks have, I think that is what makes me feel good, knowing that they were able to win despite that. But I must say, man, Donovan Mitchell, a guy that the Knicks flirted with acquiring in the offseason, really went off tonight for 38. I was worried. 2 minutes left in the game, I had that eerie feeling, and I got to say, man, if the Knicks would have blew this game after being the better team for most of the day, they played stingy defense, man. Kind of reminded me of 90s Knicks basketball in terms of just not letting anything easy happen around the rim. Yeah. And that's a staple of Tom Thibodeau.
And I was going to talk about that, is looking at the game. I mean, the Knicks out-rebounded the Cavs 51-38. That right, you're eliminating the second chance points. The Cavs were only able to get 11 offensive rebounds. So that right there is a telling story. But the one thing that worries me about this Knicks is you shot 29 threes and only made 8. Those are things that if they do that in game 2, I don't think they'll win game 2. As far as the scoring goes, they need more help because you only had 3 guys in double figures. You have Julius Randle, Josh Hart, and of course Jalen Brunson. Yeah. But Josh Hart, for me, continues to be the X factor for this team, man. This is a guy that when the trade happened, I was celebrating it and saying that you should be happy about this trade. This is a thing that's going to help you guys and put you in position to make a run. And while he was able to slow Donovan down enough, his being on that team is the difference, in my opinion, for this series.
I think what really makes me feel good is, we got him for his defensive prowess. But when he's contributing on the offensive end the way he did tonight,
it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Good chosen word. It absolutely is gravy. And, Emmanuel quickly didn't have his typical contribution off the bench. Knicks defense was good, man. It's the playoffs. This is what I expect from a Tom Thibodeau team.
Yeah, both teams. They shot in the low 40s, 43% and 42%. So not bad. Good defense.
Yeah, and you got to know that game 2, It's going to be simple for the Cavs. It's going to be Donovan Mitchell. Can you slow him down? If not, you have to slow everyone else down. Jared Allen, he's going to guy that's going to get you a double-double for the Cavaliers, but they need someone else to be able to take over that game to team up with Donovan, and that's the difference right there. Jalen Brunson's going to have himself a big game come game 2. I wholeheartedly believe that, but it's just a matter of to me, it's the 3-point shooting. You cannot be shooting 27% from 3 in the playoffs.
No, not by any means. Not overly concerned about the Knicks shooting woes tonight. I feel that they will naturally snap out of that. They're a good shooting team, especially from beyond the arc. I think those things will be rectified. But if I got to nitpick and if I got to complain about anything, I've been saying this for weeks now. I felt that the Knicks looked better with Randle off the floor. Oddly enough, Brunson got himself in foul trouble early, and the team played well without him. Obviously, I don't want a scenario where Brunson isn't getting the brunt of the minutes, but Julius Randle, one particular play that stood out to me, Brunson was trying to find an open shooter in the corner, and Randle essentially intercepted the pass. It worked out well, in part due to just dumb luck. Poor bounce for the Cavs, great bounce for the Knicks. Randle gets it back, hits Mitchell Robinson, driving towards the bucket, easy dunk. Definitely took the air out of the crowd when that happened. But, the Knicks got to finish stronger. I'm pleased with the effort. But, this is something that during the last few years of this Tom Thibodeau tenure, the Knicks have trouble putting teams away where they keep teams around. We've seen it in a lot of close games this year against the Boston Celtics with the Knicks. Knicks do have their number this year, but, those are close games. In the playoffs, you got to finish. But, you also, road victory, you got to take it.
You also mentioned you were a little bit worried about they're not as dominant at home as you think they should be.
Yes, that's been a concern of mine during the course of the year. In most cases in NBA playoff history, when you see a matchup with a 5 or a 4, or pretty much any matchup, where the lower-seeded team is threatening to go up 2-0 on the other team's home floor, that is very difficult for anyone to come back from. I do think the Knicks are going to have a raucous crowd in MSG, and I must admit, I'm not saying it because they're my team, but watching or even being at a playoff game in Madison Square Garden is a different kind of animal, not just for the home team experience, the support, but for the road team coming in. The Knicks do have some great fans. It's a special atmosphere, Madison Square Garden, especially this week coming up. I mean, you got hockey and you got the NBA playoffs. I mean, dude, this is the first time the Knicks have been up in a series since the 2012-2013 season. There's a lot to be happy about right now for Knicks fans.
That's unbelievable.
It's kind of tying into your post the other day. In my opinion, it's the state of New York. It's pretty much every professional team in that state right now. There is something to be happy about. And where the majority of the teams, with the exception of the Jets and I guess just the Jets, made the playoffs.
Yeah, and the Jets are flirting with potential Aaron Rodgers trade. That's been a topic on this show frequently. But right now, as the series stands, what do you guys expect to see moving forward in this Knicks Cavalier series before we move it along to the Golden State Warriors?
I still have the Knicks winning in 6. I think the Cavs are going to come back and steal game 2. They'll steal, then they'll steal probably game 4. But then I think the Knicks will win it the last 2 games and finish it in 6. I just think that this Knicks team is better. And a lot of it has to do with very good coaching, Jalen Brunson, but that defensive mindset that Tom Thibodeau places on his teams, I think is going to be the difference. And I hope that's the difference that actually allows him to see more winning, because the one thing with him throughout his whole career has been being able to finish games off. And that goes back to his days with the Bulls. So, but I still have the Knicks winning this series.
I'd love to see them win in 5. In order to do that, they're going to have to win one more game in Cleveland, whether it be 2 or essentially 5. I'm hoping the Knicks hold serve at home and don't give up anything at the Garden. That will be revealed. We will see how the Knicks play at home. But yes, to Corey's point, that was a concern of mine we're going to move it along to the Golden State Warriors, your team. Zappy, fill us in on what's happening, even though the TV's behind me. It's not exactly a mirror.
So, it's kind of there was a lot of things going into this game. The Warriors, their road woes. They only won 11 games on the road this year. Andrew Wiggins has been out the last couple of months. Here we are, game one. We are in the fourth quarter right now. It is a 2-point game, 101-99, 8:45 remaining, and it has been the leadership of, obviously, Mr. Draymond Green. This guy, in my opinion, is the heart and soul of this team. But then it's Steph, Clay, Jordan Poole, and Andrew Wiggins. It's been their scoring that has been the difference. The Warriors have shot a lot of threes in this game, though. And like I just said right now, in regards to the Knicks, you can't shoot 27% and expect to win a lot of games. I'll say with the Warriors, they're the team that they live by the three and they die by the three. And today they are shooting 31%. But for this Warriors team, that's below average. So I still have hope. I still think they'll be able to pull this game out. I'm
considering actually just moving across so I could actually watch the game while we speak as well. Part of the reason why I discipline myself is because I'm afraid I'm always going to get distracted. I'll be in the middle of a sentence and I'll go on this long, awkward pause if I'm watching a game. It's a little easier for me to do with baseball because baseball, well, not anymore, but a little bit of a slower pace. If it's football, that's very hard for me to do, especially if my Giants are playing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd say do it, man, just because it gives the viewers that excitement. But it was my biggest thing about this game is I always thought that this game was going to come down to the third quarter. And like in years past, where the Warriors, when they had that big explosive third quarter, that's when they usually put teams away. And whenever they let teams hang around, that's when they tend to struggle to close out games. And here we are. They had a 10-point lead, and it looked like they were about to go on that Warrior run, explode to a big lead to close up the third quarter. The Kings turned it around, and they closed it down, and they took a 1-point lead to close the third. So it's going to be interesting these last 8 minutes for sure.
Regardless of how game one plays out, the Golden State Warriors have already shown me something just in the fact that they've been such a poor road team all season long, but they are going blow for blow in a very raucous arena. I said it to you a few minutes ago before we went live. What I'm seeing with these fans, it gives me the vibes of like the old school Kings teams with C-Web, Divac, Peja, Mike Bibby, before him, White Chocolate, Jason Williams. Like, I remember the crowd at the old Arco Arena being such a factor. And, I remember those great Lakers. Wow, that was some big thunder. I remember the Lakers Kings series that we used to be treated to that were just like epic. You want to see some great early 2000s, late 90s basketball, go to Hardwood Classics, man. Just good stuff.
Incredible.
That's funny. That's funny you say that because just maybe 5 minutes ago, they just showed Vlade Divac, Jason Williams. I think it was Doug Christie and Chris Webber that they showed as well.
Yeah, I saw Doug Christie, also a former Knick. He actually started with the Knicks. More of a deep reserve on the bench, but Doug Christie always had good defensive prowess and always was just such a hard worker. So I was happy that he finally kind of found his niche with the Kings, because a player that even as a Knick I always thought very highly of. I'll put it to you bluntly, man. Anybody that's tough-nosed and plays defense, there's always a place for in any era of basketball. And Doug Christie definitely checked the boxes when it came to just being a solid defender and just a hard-nosed player.
Absolutely. Became a good shooter, too.
He certainly did. Those Kings teams were a lot of fun. Very sad that they never did win a championship. I definitely thought that in the final year of the Lakers the Lakers consecutive championships, I really did think that the Kings were going to knock them out. I almost felt that the Kings had to win 5 games because, Vlade Divac made the untimely mistake of slapping that ball away. I'm like, dude, this isn't the NFL, and you're not trying to knock it down. Like, bro, to Robert Horry of all people.
Yeah,
that's like the worst possible person you could slap that to. Big game Bob coming through for the Lakers. You talk about just playoff pedigree and just a guy that was always ready to take the big shot and never shied away from the big moment. And he made a lot of shots, man.
He won 7 rings.
He certainly did. 2 with the Rockets, 3
with the Lakers, and 3 with the Spurs.
Unfreaking 2 with the Spurs.
2 with the Spurs, sorry, yeah.
Unreal his contributions. The 3 against the Detroit Pistons, the newer reloaded bad boy repeat Pistons, talking about Chauncey, Ben Wallace, Rip Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince.
Prince, my boy Rasheed
Wallace.
And of course Ben Wallace. That was a fun team to watch. They were nasty.
Great finals. 2005 was really great finals.
Yeah, man, it certainly was. And the year before that, that Piston team had defeated Kobe and Shaq's Lakers when they tried the experiment with Karl Malone as well as Gary Payton. Yeah, years later, you find out all the rifts that were going on, and that was essentially the beginning of the end of the Kobe and Shaq era.
It was. And I mean, when you see Ben Wallace able to slow down a Shaq, I mean, Ben Wallace was a very dominant center, undersized center, but he was strong. And when he was able to kind of control Shaq, that's where you could see that, all right, it's starting now, and this is it for the Lakers,
One of the best defenders of all time, really.
Oh, no question about it. I'm one of the worst shooters of all time, but one of the greatest defenders of all time. That's what Ben Wallace was.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to read something that just came across Giants Wire via Twitter. The New York Giants reportedly don't have much of an interest in signing Saquon Barkley to a long-term deal at this point. I would consider that old news because the fact that, they don't have the money necessarily to offer him a long-term deal right now,
I told you with this year's draft being as deep as it is at the running back position, that it's easy to walk away from a Saquon Barkley.
So in your opinion, Zappy, how does this ultimately play? Do you believe that that Saquon eventually signs his tender, plays out the year, and then that's basically the end of his Giants run, unless if they revisit an extension after the fact?
I mean, let's just put it this way. In my wholehearted opinion, these next 2 weeks are the most important 2 weeks for.
Ooh, big shot by Steph.
Took the lead back. Let's go. I think these next 2 weeks are the most important because there's one name that no one knows where he is going to fall, and that's Bijan Robinson. Now with the news about Dalvin Cook and the Vikings might be releasing him within the next 2 weeks.
Yes, indeed.
There's a lot. So we're talking about if the Giants are able to draft the Bijan or a Jahmyr Gibbs or, so many other guys that then Saquon knows, all right, I'm either going to have to come down a lot on my asking price or I sign my tender and I walk. I hope he doesn't pull off a Le'Veon Bell and sit here and say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and hold out this year, forfeit the $10 million because of the weekly fines that come with it.
I must admit that I would lose a decent amount of respect for Saquon if he does that because of the sheer fact that it wasn't like the Giants didn't give him an offer. And quite frankly, the offer that the Giants gave him is better than what he's playing on this year should he sign the tender. I believe that Saquon got a little greedy and overestimated the market. And that's not on the Giants, It's been time true. I love Saquon Barkley. He is my favorite New York Giant player. But this man has missed 21 games since his rookie season. And I'm going to drop a stat here that I probably said on a previous show. Saquon Barkley has not superseded his production from his rookie year of 2018. He had an awesome year this year. It wasn't better than his rookie year. That's a fact. That's not an opinion.
It's a huge fact. And the way I look at Saquon, it's a similar situation with Lamar. Lamar, ever since his MVP season, has not been putting up the numbers, and a lot of it has to do with the fact because what is the greatest ability in sports altogether? It's availability. And Saquon, while he was available this year, the last couple of seasons, he wasn't. So when you're a guy and you're looking for X amount of dollars per year, but yet you don't have the resume to back that, I'm not going to pay you the money. We can meet somewhere in the middle, but I'm not going to pay you the money.
Corey, what do you think here, bud?
Do you think the Giants should call his bluff and draft a running back and say, hey, look,
1,000,000%.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I think it has a lot to do with how far this drags in, and I have no reason to believe that there's going to be a franchise tender signed prior to the draft. And that's another thing that, maybe a couple of weeks ago you don't consider. And believe me, this is not something that I want to be talking about right now, but we are. Is there a possibility that the New York Giants trade Saquon Barkley on draft night?
What did I say late in the season? What did I say during the playoffs that I strongly believe Saquon will be wearing another jersey going into this upcoming season? I have said it many times because I think we have seen the NFL transition to a league where we're seeing more trades happen in the offseason. I mean, look at last year with the amount of receivers that moved. We talk about A.J. Brown, Marquise Brown. I mean, so many different guys that it's just the way the contracts are being manipulated. It's a lot easier to do that. And you look at a team like the Bills, the Chiefs that can use a Saquon. I mean, the Chiefs, they don't need him, but that would put them over the top, especially with the fact that they have lost a couple of receivers this offseason. Or you look at the Bills that, yeah, you've had Devin Singletary. You have not re-signed him. You have James Cook, who did show a lot of...
They did pick up Damian Harris as well.
They picked up Damian Harris, but I mean, that's still a number 2 running back. But if you can bring a Saquon Barkley in to team up with Josh Allen, that opens things up for Josh Allen so much.
Now, before we start doing all the hypotheticals, it's like anything else. I do believe to a level that the media, people that cover the Giants, or just the media in general, has gone out of their way
nice shot, Clay.
to add more sauce to this Barkley situation because of the fact that the news has kind of been dry.
Yeah.
But, I don't like this. I'm not going to lie to you. When Saquon refused that deal, which I actually think is a relatively fair one, it's like anything else. McCaffrey's getting, 17? Correct me if I'm wrong, 17?
Less than, so he's getting around 16.
Okay. And, the 49ers felt like they could take that hit. When I've said this so many times. You look at Giants history, you look at championship caliber Giant football teams that have won the Super Bowl. They have never put it on one guy, truly, if you really divulge into the history of Giants football. We had Tiki Barber, who, like it or not, is the greatest running back in Giants history. But having said that, we didn't win with him. That's the only Super Bowl we lost.
Yep. 2000. Yep.
Committee running backs work. Look at our hated rivals in Philly.
And look at them. I mean, you could say that the Chiefs was a running back by committee. We had Isaiah Pacheco that blew up, a 7th round pick, but you still had Clyde Edwards-Helaire and you had Jerick McKinnon on that team. So you had 3 running backs that the Chiefs were using, and we see what the Eagles used with the amount of running backs and Jalen Hurts. The 49ers, a lot of people will argue that if Brock Purdy does not go down in that NFC Championship game, the 49ers win that game. Oh, Clay is on right now. Let's go, Clay.
Yeah, he certainly is.
Can you make the argument that in the NFL, besides quarterback, most star positions are fluid, as far as you don't necessarily need a concrete star?
I think you need a concrete star at quarterback, at left tackle, and at defensive end. I mean, those are the 3 most important positions. You need that guy that can get pressure on the quarterback, but you need that guy that can block the guy that can get pressure on the quarterback. You need to be able to protect the quarterback's blind side. That is the biggest key when it comes to the NFL. So those 3. But when we talk about the rest of the positions, linebacker, defensive tackles, safeties, cornerbacks, number 2, receivers in general, tight ends, I think you could go away from it if you have yourself a couple of reliable guys. We see a lot of teams that have that star, but
it didn't used to be like that.
No, it didn't. And it's just weird because last year we saw the wide receiver market blow up, where now we have Tyreek Hill averaging $30 million a year on his salary, and we're looking at Justin Jefferson coming up to possibly get his contract this offseason, if not next, plus CeeDee Lamb. $30 million is going to be pocket change here real soon, especially with the new TV deal going into effect and the salary cap expected to explode. So there's a lot into it. But yeah, I just think, and that's the other reason why with Saquon, you paid Daniel Jones. All right, Daniel, you got your 160, and that means you have to move away from a Saquon because it is very important. Oh my God. Woo!
I can't believe he made that shot.
Wow, Steph Curry.
That looked like one of those ridiculous shots in the old school NBA lives. I'm going like SNES days with the old school Warriors.
Oh my God. This game is getting insane. I can hear my son in the living room.
Three-point fest right now that we're witnessing in this Warriors game.
I knew the veterans would step up.
Yeah, this is getting wild. Moving it along to today's performance, I'm going to let Corey start this because I know that Corey's got some thoughts. We're going to start it with Domingo German, Corey. Your thoughts here, bud. What do you think about what he accomplished today, stopping a mini slump for the New York Yankees?
He looked really, really good. He used his sinker a lot more, and his curveball was on. He really needed this game today because he was a little sketchy his first couple of games, especially his last one.
Yeah.
And he's a fringe starter at this point, and he's basically in the rotation because there's injuries. So he has a lot to prove. And the Twins, they had been struggling on offense prior to this series, but obviously we saw what happened the first game. And they have Carlos Correa, who likes to torture the Yankees. But he did amazing, and the Yankees did enough on offense.
Similar to an Edgar Martinez and a Big Papi, Carlos Correa definitely loves sticking it to the Yankees. There is no doubt about that.
Yep.
I like the standing ovation the Yankees fans gave Carlos Correa.
Yeah, that wasn't too facetious.
Oh man, 5-point game.
Now listen, Zap. I know that these Warriors like to shoot a lot of threes, but it's okay to drive, penetrate, maybe draw a foul. Just a suggestion.
That's
like I said, they live by the three and they die by the three.
Yeah, but some of this is a little absurd, though. But respectfully,
it kind of seems like all teams do that now, though.
Yeah, well, because the Warriors wrote the book on it when you had the birth of the Splash Brothers back in 2014 timeframe. I guess even before that, but once they were in the playoffs and losing in 6 games to the Spurs, but the following season going to the finals, and it was because of their 3-point play. That's why a lot of teams adopted that. That's why we have a Trae Young that people are like, the next Steph Curry. No, it's just.
Yeah, he had a moment at MSG and they overplayed it. Go ahead, Corey. I'm sorry.
I really kind of think that not everybody should shoot because not everybody's Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. That's just what I think.
It's the whole 2-for-1, 3 as opposed to 2 mentality that the NBA's adopted. Because in no other era have you seen so many big men, take those kind of shots from beyond the arc. But back to the Yankees, Corey. Giancarlo Stanton, it was kind of funny. Normally when he admires one, it leaves the park. That did not happen today. I thought for sure it was home run number 5 on the year.
Me too, and it even fooled Michael K. It was like, there it goes. And
he sounded like John Sterling. He sounded like
pretty
John
good.
Sterling.
He really did. He really did.
Because John Sterling's famous for doing that, but he's so beloved. It doesn't matter. He can say whatever he wants half the time.
I've talked about it before, but that man hits the baseball harder than anyone I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's scientifically proven, not just an opinion.
Yeah. Another guy that we talk about availability, but when he's there, he's a presence. Even if he's not hitting, he's a presence. And he seems pretty locked in right now. They have to get better at getting some of the runners in from scoring position, but the Twins are actually better than I thought they were. So
I second your look on that, and we're gonna move it along to expand. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say to go back to talking about Domingo German. I was very impressed with the pitching outing he had today. When you're a guy pitching, only throwing the ball 78 times in a game, fanning 11 guys. And out of those 78 pitches, 58 of them are strikes. I mean, come on. But that kind of thing, those are the kind of things that in professional sports, players usually build on. And, you know, it's one of those that keep an eye on, man.
German is not a guy he's not DeGrom. He's not going to throw 100. But he has decent stuff. He has a really good curveball, but he has to be fine with his fastball. That's why he's kind of throwing more of a sinker as opposed to a four-seam that he used to throw.
Yeah, you alluded to the sinker, and that was very effective today. And, you know, German does have good stuff because going back to a couple of seasons ago, you're talking about flirting with a perfect game against the Boston Red Sox before it all kind of blew up in one inning due to a misplay in the outfield. But I think that was Greg Allen, if my memory serves me right.
Do we talk about the umpires' antics today with German?
That's weird that they've done that. I mean, the first time a couple nights ago with JF or IFK, that was funny. But tonight that was not a joke, you know. Like I can't stand it. I hate it.
Yeah, that was kind of funny with IKF, but you know, it was for a different reason. You're talking about our backup shortstop pitching a perfect frame in the ninth, doing his team a favor because we were getting our brains beat in. But then, you know, what I saw today, I'm like, guys, you know, come on. You know, he is capable of having this kind of outing from time to time. Cooking with Corey. We're going to let Corey speak on a couple of things that were on his mind about potential surprisingly poor starts by certain teams that he expected a little more from.
Yeah, you can talk about the Astros a little bit. Like we've mentioned before, they don't have Altuve right now. Altuve. He's probably their heart and soul of their team, kind of like Judge is for the Yankees. He's not there, but it's April 15th. So how much can we read into it?
Yeah.
When a team has a poor start? I mean, I think the Pirates are actually above 500 right now. The Cardinals are another team that are kind of sluggish a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Phillies. I think the Phillies are 5-10.
The Phillies are 5-10.
I think the Phillies are going to have trouble this year after really looking at the injuries to the roster. Nola's not happy. There's issues there. There's issues, and they might look more like that team from the first half as opposed to the team that went on a run.
There's talks that Nola could leave the Phillies eventually.
And that I was about to bring that part up, man, because I would be really surprised if you move away from your ace like that.
It looks like it's trending in that direction because they basically are like walking away from the table. And 90% of the time when that happens, yeah, you know, that's why the Barkley alarm, even like I said it before, it's on my mind. It could happen, you know, we'll see. But like I said, you know, you got to let things play out because relationships have a way of breaking apart before they get better, you know, on all different walks of professions and life in general. So I guess we'll just see how it plays. But anything else, Corey, that you're looking at around the league?
Yeah.
What's this
I
about?
wanted to bring up, it's not kind of a surprise, but I wanted to bring up, I was watching the Rangers the other night and DeGrom looked incredible. Like, did the Mets make a mistake choosing Verlander over him? I don't know, man.
So far,
early evidence would say yes.
Yes, and that's the big one. You look at where the Mets. I mean, the Mets, they're right there hovering just above 500. But we've already talked about it a couple times. Max Scherzer and Verlander, injuries early on in the year, and usually with the pitcher, especially when you go into the year hurt. You usually play the rest of the year hurt and never complete a season.
Trying to compensate. And sometimes you push it too hard. You try to work it too quick.
From everything I've read, DeGrom didn't want to stay. He was done with them. So,
and I'm perfectly content with that. You know, I welcome a DeGrom all day. But I welcome a pitcher like that all day long in Texas.
Can't ignore Father Time, you know, no matter who you are, it catches everybody. And we saw it with Tom Brady this year in the NFL playoffs.
Yeah. And Scherzer and Verlander are Hall of Famers, you know.
Absolutely.
But it's just grasping at straws by the Mets to me to try and think they're going to lead them to a championship. I don't know.
I think it's a big ask, and not because they're not capable, But when you look at, Verlander won the American League Cy Young last year, and he should be praised. I myself did say that his absence could potentially hurt the Houston Astros' chances of repeating.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's so early. Like, I don't want to necessarily overreact to Houston's slow start. I've learned the hard way that when the chips are on the table, they're going to bring it. Like them or not, you got to give them their due.
I thought – go ahead, Corey.
Oh, sorry. I do like the fact that the AL West seems to be a little bit more competitive.
Now,
the Mariners are 5-8, I think, but the Rangers seem to be doing better. The Angels seem to be trying to do better. They played terrible today, but it does seem like the Astros will have some competition.
Yeah, Seattle, I think, is a little bit of a disappointment. Julio Rodriguez not off to the start I expected, being that I selected him first in my fantasy league. But, the Angels, they're always that enigma. Like, you can't necessarily figure out what exactly they're going to do. But they are very talented. We know what Ohtani brings. You're talking about probably this year's MVP, barring a bad injury or something.
Say that again, but be proud to say it this time.
Probably this year's MVP, barring a bad injury or something. But I will say this. I think number 99 is going to tally some votes. That was a big free throw miss, by the way, by Sacramento.
That was.
Steph's bringing it up the court. Steph's trying to free himself. He's penetrating.
And that's easy too. That's easy.
All right. That's way too easy. You're not lying about that. 47 and change left in this game.
Yeah, it's I mean, you look at the Mets. The one thing I like about the Astros, though, even though they lost Verlander, is I think that they have one of the best pitching rotations in all of baseball.
Yeah,
I know why he said the B word, because that ball should have been rebounded. Ooh, Draymond, great effort.
Oh, it comes down to this. It's Curry time. It is Curry time, gentlemen. We are here. Oh, Andrew, let's go.
Oh, shoot. They fouled him. How did they not foul him yet?
Oh, my God.
2.9. Kings at the line to shoot 2. Golden State will get the final shot of this game.
Golden State gets the final shot. It's got to go to the hands of Mr. Steph Curry. You've got to have it in his hands.
I can't believe
the guy that has done this his whole career.
Man, you talk about a great pass.
That was a great driving pass. I mean, Clay knew he was going to be there. But that was a very good foul by Draymond. If he doesn't make that foul, that game's over.
And no, I'm not a Golden State Warrior fan, but the reason I'm pulling for them, quite frankly, is because I want to be right. I like being right on my show, and I picked them.
Do you think
the conference, not just this series?
Do you think the Kings are being overlooked a little?
They're good, but I still think this is Golden State series, no matter what happens on this next shot.
Yeah, I do too.
Whoa, Draymond!
Draymond! His arm did get held. His arm got held there.
I just don't want to see a stupid technical this late in the game.
Well, we already saw how that affected him back in, when their 73-9 season.
Yeah, we certainly do know how that played out.
I think we gotta, my opinion, early on in the season, it says letting DeGrom go and bringing in a Justin Verlander. Yeah, they were trying to go all in. The Mets took the approach of what you did and not what you can do for me.
Yes.
They forgot about the whole, he's a year older.
Yeah.
The World Series. I mean, the World Series should have said something, because that was a horrible World Series by Justin Verlander.
Jacob deGrom's final start as a New York Met was the only game they won in last year's playoffs. And I'm like, guys, I understand that this man has battled injuries. I get it. But it's like, you're going to bank on a guy that's that much older than him, because he had a somewhat of a renaissance last year on a loaded team. I mean, no disrespect to Justin Verlander. They're both going to be in the Hall, as well as Mad Max. But I do think that Uncle Stevie overestimated what he could do. I think that he's obsessed with proving to the media and those who love baseball that he can reclaim New York by spending adequately, similarly to the late great George Steinbrenner. And at the end of the day, winning is what's going to get you that city, not headlines.
Yeah, he wants the second.
Sorry, Zappy.
No, I saw. Hey, it's game one. They needed that win. That was a big win by the Kings. You know, I got to tip my hat off to them. They played great. Like I said, I thought it came down to the end of the third quarter. They had that 10-point lead. And then the Kings just went on the run. They took the 1-point lead. Like I said, I think that was the difference in the game. You've got the Warriors are known for having that big third quarter.
Now, I understand that this is a team, obviously, that lives and dies by the three. But I must admit, Zappy, there were certain junctures of this game where it is a little annoying for me to be like, guys, get a quality shot. Not everything has to be from 30 feet and beyond. You know, I get it.
Exactly.
I get it. But, you know, they only lost for 3 points.
Oh, my God. All right.
And not for nothing, the Kings are celebrating like they just won the conference.
And it reminds me a lot of last year with the T-Wolves, Patrick Beverly going nuts, jumping around, celebrating like they won the fine.
Respectfully, Sacramento Kings, I remember this act against Kobe and Shaq's Lakers. That didn't turn out well. Part of being a champion is acting like you've been there before. Part of winning is acting like you've been there before. Calm down.
And they definitely haven't been there before because this is their first playoff appearance in 10 years?
Yes. It's more than that. It's been a while. 16 years, I believe it is.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Look it. I would put money, and I probably will. The Warriors tonight, this is unbelievable. Shot 16 for 50.
And only lost by 3.
16 for 50 from behind the arc. Steph Curry shot 6 for 14 from behind the arc. Klay Thompson, 5 for 14 from behind the arc. Andrew Wiggins, 1 for 8. They're not going to do that every game.
No.
The Warriors will win game 2.
I wish you could come over the PA at Sacramento right now. And bro, this is listen, dude, I get it. I'm a Knicks fan, and it's been a minute since we've had something to be happy about like we did tonight.
But
even me as a Knicks fan, like, dude, no, I haven't seen my team win a championship, but I've certainly seen us win a ton of series. This is too much, dude.
I love this. I'm loving this because you are facing Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. This is the team that has won the championship on multiple occasions since 2015. Do you not think that is fuel? You don't.
It's a little comical, dude. I'm
like not one fan has left yet, and they're lighting the beam outside. This is game 1, guys, of the first round of the playoffs. This is not game 7 of the 2023 NBA Finals. Let's pump the brakes there,
to put it in perspective. When you've been to the mountaintop as frequently as your Golden State Warriors have, in the words of Allen Iverson, talking about practice, man.
Exactly.
Golden State probably views this as like, okay, we just took their best shot and we played like crap.
This is old hat for them.
I guarantee.
You don't poke the bear.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mike Lupica. That's Mike Lupica what poking the bear does. Up 2-0 and getting Michael Jordan angry when he wasn't really that vicious. He was just playing hard, and that's still scary.
And then watching the fans wave bye-bye. It's game 1.
You're coming back
again in a couple nights. Oh, and by the way, you're not going to win 2 games, game 3 and 4 at the Warriors Arena. It's not happening. You don't do this to the champions. You don't do this. You do this to, I don't know, maybe LeBron.
The Clippers.
James.
Do it to the Clippers. Not even the Lakers. I'll give them that because they're the Lakers.
This is the Clippers, yeah.
You just don't do this. You don't celebrate a win like this. All right, you won. You circle up. Good game, guys. Let's go back. We have 3 more to go. 3 more games in this series. What's the bigger goal right now? Win game 1 or win the championship? Win game 1 or win this series? They're acting like we accomplished everything we needed to. We won. We're back.
Golden State in 6. I said it going in. I will reiterate it right now.
Golden State in 6.
We were talking about a running back's future in Saquon Barkley. I hope that it's more smoke than actual fact to it. But before we go,
the one thing I actually wanted Corey to hit on was, while he did make mention about the bottom tier teams, there's one team that I'm sure both of you would like to talk about. It's the one team that they hail over there right down the street from you, Mr. Ritchie.
Yeah.
And that's the team that I wanted Corey to really elaborate on. We are.
Okay.
We wanted to see history on Thursday night. We're sitting here saying 13-0. You're 13-0. All you have to do is win one game, and you will forever be remembered as the first Major League Baseball team to start the year 14-0. But instead, I'm going to let Corey take over.
Oh, that's a nice feed.
Yeah. Tampa Bay, they played Toronto, and Toronto is obviously a good team. They got a great lineup. Many picked them to be the second best team in the division.
Mm-hmm.
I respect Tampa Bay a lot. I just cannot wave my pom-poms for their start. I just can't. I respect them. They have great pitching, but I'm not going to hand them anything. And they were due to lose some games. They were due to come back to the pack a little. Are they going to win 100-plus games? Maybe. They haven't played the Yankees. They haven't. I don't know, man. I think the media likes to jump on these bandwagons and make it bigger than it is. So,
at the end of the day, people had a high opinion of the Blue Jays going into the season. They have won 2 consecutive against the Rays. The Boston Red Sox, the Oakland Athletics, the Detroit Tigers are not even in the stratosphere.
And the Washington Nationals.
Thank you. The Nationals was. Hey, listen, I give them credit for beating teams they're supposed to. Because believe you me, I get frustrated as a Yankee fan when we play those kind of teams and maybe only take 2 out of 3 where we should sweep them. So there is something to be said about beating who you're supposed to beat. There is something to be said about that.
You're probably not going to dominate the good teams. You probably do average against them. But in order to be a great team, you have to dominate the bad ones because that's how you build your record.
And a lot of times absolutely. That's the difference between winning a division and pretending.
Also, I was going to say, you're also not playing the Detroit Tigers as much or the Red Sox as much. Now you have to also play the Braves, the Mets. I'll give the Phillies their respect. You still got to play the Brewers. You got to play the Padres. You got to play the Giants, who still have decent pitching. You got to play the Dodgers. The D-backs are on the rise. The Pirates are on the rise. There's a lot of good teams. So when you have beat the last Boston Red Sox, when you have beat the second to last place Detroit Tigers, the last place Nationals, and the last place Athletics, you cannot raise the banner as you're the champs.
And those, besides Boston, who's probably not the worst team in the league.
No, they got a good offense.
The other 3 teams are arguably the worst, 3 of the worst teams in baseball. If not, you can add Kansas City in there too, but.
And you can add the Reds, and these are teams that are going to be vying for the number 1 pick in next year's draft. That's the whole point. They still have to play the Yankees 12 times. We'll say the Yankees win 8 and the Rays win 4. They still have to play Toronto 10 more times. They still have to play Cleveland. They got to play Minnesota. They got to play Texas, the Astros, the Angels. I mean, the list goes on. I don't think this team even gets over 85 wins, in my honest opinion. And this wouldn't be the first time. We've seen it on many occasions where a team has started off the season 13-0 and barely made it to the middle of the 80s.
Look, last year, our New York Yankees, Corey and I, they were flirting early on a trajectory to potentially surpass the 1998 Yankees as well as the 2007 Yankees. And ultimately, we had a brutal summer. Injuries caught us, fatigue, a lot of different variables, and still won a playoff series, still made the ALCS. But in a lot of Yankee people's eyes, especially spoiled fans, they just look at it as like, oh, it was another year that we didn't win a World Series. And I'm happy that the standard is that high, but sometimes it is a little annoying. I try to appreciate the journey. It's not realistic. I like to appreciate the journey. I must admit that there is a complacency from times that I see from these Steinbrenner kids that I never saw from the boss. And that does annoy me. Yeah. I don't think they're as obsessed about winning as he was. I'll say that much.
No, but I do think sometimes activity can be mistaken for achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that.
I like it. We talked about Uncle Stevie. That's a great point.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Look at Dusty Baker said it best, and that's why. While you guys know, I mean, I love my Rangers. Let's go. The West still belongs to the Astros. But Dusty Baker said it. It's not how you start the season. It's how you finish. And in baseball especially, we see it in the first 100 games. It's usually there's going to be some teams that are riding there. But for some reason, at game 101, the championship teams, the teams that are going to win the division and are vying for a spot in the World Series are usually the teams that just separate themselves in those last 62 games of the year. So, and we saw with the Mariners, the team that has accomplished the most wins in a single season, what did they do? Nothing.
They lost to the Yankees in the ALCS.
They lost to the Yankees in the ALCS.
I attended game 1, and they actually did beat us in game 1. But ultimately, we won that series in 6.
It's like they say, the dog days of summer are brutal, man.
Yeah, really baseball's tough. There's a reason why you expand to a 40-man roster. That's where you get a lot of looks at your immediate future or guys that could potentially make a postseason roster. You know, we saw it with a Derek Jeter back in 95. A lot of people forget that Derek Jeter was actually on the field when Junior was celebrating with his Mariners teammates, Don Mattingly's final game of as a Yankee. I don't think everybody necessarily knew that it was his final game. I had a suspicion as a young fan. But, you know, a lot of people forget that Jeter
Here's a side note.
Yeah.
Here's a side note. I've heard people say this, and obviously you can't predict somebody's future, but if Buck Showalter uses Mariano Rivera in that series, do the Yankees lose?
I would say probably not. And, you know, he was the setup dude for John Wetland the very next year.
He wasn't Mariano Rivera yet, so it's hard to say. Sure.
But I don't think it was Blackjack McDowell. I'll put it to you like that. I don't think that was the answer, and that was proven rather quickly.
They didn't know what they had in Mo back then, obviously, but
I mean, it's like anything else. You know, the Patriots passed on Tom Brady 6 times. You know, you see it happen. A guy like Antonio Brown, who carved out a really good career before he lost his head, 6th-round draft pick. You know, we've seen these stories. There was chatter that Jeter and Bernie were going to give up on them before they ever flourished because, you know, Steinbrenner was not a patient man.
Seattle was going to get Jeter, and they were going to trade Felix Fermin and some other scrub for.
Can
Jeter
you imagine that?
Wasn't Edgar Martinez a part of that? Was supposed to be a part of that trade?
I believe, maybe not.
I think it was for no, it wasn't for prospects because they were prospects. I don't know. I remember it being Felix Fermin though, because he was a shortstop, a veteran.
Pretty remarkable that it was that close to happening because, you know, you look at Good George and Bad George, like we talk about this Uncle Stevie stuff with this and that. And, you know, acquisitions don't necessarily equal achievement, something similar to what Corey said. And the thing is like you still got to win, especially in a city like New York. You can make all the acquisitions in the world.
Yeah.
It's about winning. And that's one thing that I'm a little annoyed with Uncle Stevie. Is like, dude, you guys haven't done anything yet. You had a 100-win season, and you got dumped out in the first round. You haven't done shit yet.
I think with George Steinbrenner, and he was an amazing owner, amazing passion, but there's a little bit of revisionist history when it comes to him. The Torrey years were definitely not just because of George Steinbrenner. They were built through the draft and Gene Michael
and Buck, believe it or not, doesn't get enough credit.
Exactly.
And Cashman was an assistant at that point. Yeah. He wasn't at the same role, but he was a contributor as well.
But George Steinbrenner did not. He would have easily traded those the core 4. He had no issue with that.
Indeed. He was a very impatient man because, you know, we saw it during the 90s where George spent a lot of money stupidly, you know, bringing in guys like Tartable, you know, the Ruben Sierra experiment the first time. lot of big name guys that never truly panned out. I mean, hell, I could go on for a long time here. Steve Balboni, Matt Noakes, a lot of guys, Steve Howe, a lot of guys that just did not work out. Pascual Perez, you could go on for eons about this. It's all relative, whenever you look at it. When the Yankee dynasty came to fruition and started hitting its stride, George was actually suspended. And to George's credit, when he came back, he allowed baseball people to make baseball moves, and I also think George was getting older and realized he can't do the same thing over and over again and expect new results.
And when you talk about a team like that, a once-in-a-lifetime team, it's never just one person or one guy that puts it all together,
Never.
It's a bevy of things that happens that has to come into place. You're never going to see a team like that again in baseball, so.
No, and, it's something that when it ended, essentially, in my opinion, in 2001, they almost four-peated. They went to the World Series in 2003, and then we waited to 2009 to actually hoist another World Series trophy. But, I do think that fans take it for granted how difficult it is to put something like that together. And, when we're constantly in the postseason and constantly winning division titles or at minimum getting in as a wild card in a very competitive division, I do tend to laugh at some of these Yankee fans that are so spoiled that, I'm not saying that I'm okay with being a bridesmaid, but I'm acknowledging who beat us. They were damn good.
But people forget that the Yankees had some dark years prior to the Jeter era.
I certainly don't forget. That was the beginning of my Yankee run with my father, taking me to watch some terrible teams.
The early 90s were terrible. They were bad.
They were god awful.
60s were terrible. Early 90s were terrible.
Yeah, Don Mattingly.
It's every team goes
Don
there.
Mattingly carrying a hopeless organization.
I think prior to them getting Thurman Munson and all those guys, I think they were pretty bad before that too.
Well, I also think that, making Reggie the $1 million man definitely changed the trajectory immediately for the Yankees. Yes. And he and Thurman, that's other legendary lore. If you love baseball and you haven't checked it out, revisit ESPN's Burning in the Bronx. The Bronx is burning.
It's amazing. It's incredible.
Phenomenal. Truly. It also kind of bleeds into the stuff that was going on in the streets with the Son of Sam.
Yeah, Son of Sam. Yeah.
Very scary time. Very scary time for people back then. And this all infiltrated with the Yankee mini dynasty back-to-back years.
Yeah, it was a crazy time, and it was truly the Bronx Zoo.
Indeed. So much culture. It's not just about a baseball team winning. There's so much culture in that borough. Idris can speak on that.
I want to talk about the fans. Remember when Reggie hits the home run? Could you imagine if fans did that today? What they did?
Oh, yeah. It was a different time through and through. It was a different time through and through.
He had to practically punch the fan in the face to get him out the way. It's
yeah. Different time through and through. I saw guys at the 9/11 game scaling the walls, doing a couple of dumb things. And shout out to whoever the hell was running the security for the New York Mets. When I saw that guy open field tackle this dude, I was like, well, the Giants play in a few hours. Sign that man.
Right.
I was like, man, sideline to sideline? That guy didn't have a chance. We're coming up on the final 90 seconds of our show. Anything that either one of you want to speak on before we slide out?
I'll just throw in a little bit of news for everybody. Obviously, you dropping the news about Saquon Barkley. I'm going to take it back to the NFL, and I'm going to talk about another running back, and that's Dalvin Cook and his future in question right now in Minnesota. Rumors are that within the next 2 weeks, he might not be a Minnesota Viking anymore. And then we hear about Derrick Henry and his tenure with the Titans possibly coming to an end. So I think we're seeing right now that this year we're going to see some running back movement. So we talk about teams like the Bills, again, the Chiefs, even the Eagles, my Cowboys, your Giants, Dallas, obviously, they're being tied to Derrick Henry. Who makes sense for Dalvin Cook if it's not there? But it's just something we need to monitor as we are 12 days away from the first round of the 2023 NFL draft taking place in Kansas City this year. That's all I wanted to mention right there about Dalvin Cook.
It's a process. I trust the process. all I'm going to say is this. If we move on from Saquon, bring me Bijan. If not, I'm going to try to be patient and not overreact to every article I see. 15 seconds remaining for my man, Corey. Thank you for being on the show tonight. You were awesome. Mr. Sappy, sorry about your Warriors, but you did a hell of a job tonight. Only game one. I am Richie for the guys. We are out.
Later.